Hello. I'm a little bit behind because I'm missing my co-host, guys. But I'm gonna start now anyway, just because I guess I might as well. Oh, there's functional. Um. Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Failed YouTuber playing back into my own stream like a goofball. Yeah, I guess he's finishing his dinner. All right. All right. Well, since you're in the kitchen, functional, you can go and make me a sandwich. Ah ha 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 ha. I'm kidding though. That's fine. Just do what you need to do. Let me just check my YouTube so that if anybody is saying hello, I'm not being a giant jackass. Oh, there you are. Hi. Yeah, I've got a couple of articles that I've saved for this, so hopefully I don't have too many. I don't know if there's any that maybe overlap with yours, but like I said, we could just blend those into one stream. I haven't heard from Magic yet, and I don't know why. There you are. Yep. But I sent him a link, so maybe someday. All right. Okay, so this is the part of the stream where I'm gonna figure out what to talk about while I wait. So I guess I could start with one of my more depressing articles. You know what? I'll do that. I'll just share my screen and blah blah blah. Hi, Arms Killer. How you doing? I'm just blah blah blahing myself as I remember where I put my articles. So I'm gonna start with oof. Which one did I want to start with? Okay, so one of these was kind of, yeah, okay, so this is more of my usual article, so I'll start with that one just because, this is a little bit more current. I don't want to hammer in too much on these just because, there's not a hell of a lot I can do with it, but just so that, people are kept aware of the things that I've seen in terms of the talks between my guys and Trudeau. So let's go in with that. So Bonokoski, yes, I know you're Ukrainian. Yes, Ukrainian, but he's from Saskatchewan. He's their prime minister. Scott Moe, their premier Scott Moe. Bonokoski. Who the fuck are you, Bonokoski? Oh, are you the article guy? Okay, sorry, Bonokoski. Talks with Trudeau leave the West jilted and fending for itself. Yes, I'm a jackass. Premier Minister Justin Trudeau meets with Saskatchewan's Premier Scott Moe on Parliament Hill in Ottawa, November 12th, 2019. And Reuters' Patrick Doyle, I guess is the guy who followed it. All right. So obviously we know there was not a lot of love in the air between these two. Saskatchewan Scott Moe left the meeting with Prime Minister earlier this week, convinced that there were a transcript of his private talks with Justin Trudeau. It might as well have been written on toilet paper. Yeah, it didn't go anywhere. It was in one hole and out the other, so to speak, and then flushed. It did not make Moe a very happy premier. So after the meeting, disappointingly, after this meeting here, what do I see is that we're going to see more of the same from this prime minister, Moe said, which is something we've already kind of known. And that, of course, is a lot of nothing for the West. It was no better earlier with Conservative leader Andrew Scheer, the official opposition point man, when his own sit-down with Trudeau was noticeably brief, less than 30 minutes, and reportedly as frosty as the air in Ottawa as the first winter snowstorm hit the world's second coldest capital. So that's not good to see. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau meets with Conservative leader, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we did that. Okay. He had gone into the meeting wanting Trudeau to reconvene the House of Commons by as early as November 25th, only days after Trudeau would announce his new cabinet. But he came away with December 5th circled on his calendar. First, there were... Oh, I'm not even reading my chat. Let me pop that out. So I'm not, being a complete jackass. StreamYard makes me a little bit lazy, guys. You gotta forgive me. Don't get lazy. Don't be scribe. Okay. Okay, so we did this one. First, there was no Miss NATO conference in London, and there is no stage more attractive to Trudeau than an international one. India's bomb aside. Yeah. Trudeau was obviously in no rush to see how his minority government would work out now that his comfortable majority was gone. Let me check. Oh, you are in. Woohoo! Hi, functional. Sorry, I'm getting used to this whole watching for screens thing.
Oh, my mic was muted. Hello.
Hello.
No, it was okay. I was watching or listening, I guess, to a little bit of the AAA meeting while finishing cooking dinner and cleaning up and whatnot.
Yeah, I kind of started with them too, and I was just like, well, want to make sure I was on time. So,
Yeah, you failed me. One of my favorite podcasts you're making me compete with now.
I know. Well, it's Magic asked me to do it, and like I'm like, well, dude, you're if you're listening to this, Magic, I sent you a link on Discord. All you got to do is to click
Oh,
on it, and
it's fine. It's fine because this is just like a spur of the moment kind of thing.
yeah.
And it's my own fault for not saying, oh, but one of my favorite podcasts is going on at that time. Because I, like a lot of people, seem to have terrible memory when it comes to such things and rely on YouTube notifications to let us know. Which, let's face it, don't always work.
I've been out of work for a really long time with not a hell of a lot of things going on. So sometimes my life has been set around like who's streaming when and where. And like I said, like,
fun too.
We are going to tweak out the, proper streams, but, and I'm not pinning it on him because like, it's not his fault that he works for what he works for. Like that's kind of grocery store life. They switch things all the time.
Oh, I thought he was in CSIS. I thought he was Canadian Secret Service.
Oh no. He just sounds like he is. Because he could be. You never know on the side. But yeah, I mean, he's a smart guy. Like, I mean, he's, but, I know working in that kind of field, like they just switch your hours all the time. And at least he had notice to let us know. So,
yeah,
just at the very least, he's going to see the message at some point. Because like he did an hour ago. So I don't know if maybe he went out to get something, or I don't know. It could be frosty over there. For us, it's kind
very
of
frosty here, so
he probably went to go grab something then. If he's it's one of those things where my brother was preparing me for like the weekend being like trash for our weather. Only Calgary is a little shit like that because of our location in those Chinooks. So it's done like a 180 and now it's the complete opposite. So we're suffering from major migraines. Because when your weather goes from like, oh, I'm supposed to be minus 30 to, okay, well, maybe I'm going to be -1 within a 1 day period, you feel it a lot.
Yeah. I feel you. It does seem like it's going to be a lot more of the same from the Liberal Trudeau government again. Yeah. Obviously, he's a globalist and he wants to be a globalist prime minister, which, okay. And, the big problem is people hear globalism, and I'm talking about normies, like his base, liberal voters in general, a liberal party, not liberal philosophically political. They'll vote for him no matter what because they think of globalism as sort of like this utopian ideal, which, it could very well be should the world as a whole decide, hey, we're going to adopt certain values and certain freedoms and enshrine these into law so that people have, a fair shot at life. And that I don't see that happening, at least not anytime ridiculously soon, not in my life at least. And so they'll just keep voting for him because they believe that it's some sort of ideal. And it's sad because there are real, and I hate to say this, but there are real world problems here at home that we need to be dealing with. In not instead of global problems and global relations, but in addition to, and they're just not being dealt with. Like I've seen ads now for some of the these amazing skyscrapers that they're going to be building here. I think that there's one in Niagara Falls being slated. They're massive, huge skyscrapers, and that's only going to add to the housing issues in these places, not solve them. And the housing issue is massive across Canada, whether you're I hate to say this, I hate to use this term, but like a regular Canadian, or if you're
Yeah.
an Indigenous Canadian, housing is an issue for everyone.
Yep.
And it's really not being dealt with. Yes, people are talking about it here and there, but nobody's dealing with the issue. Nobody's bringing forth ideas and talking about it
Yeah.
bipartisanly and saying, "Hey, here are the issues. Here are the contributing factors. Now what can we do to, like brainstorming sessions. Whatever happened to
Yeah.
brainstorming sessions?"
I might even set something up with my mom. Like I had a good conversation with her this morning because we went to Costco. They've started their holiday hours, guys. Just so you know, it's much nicer to go
Hey,
at
Dad,
9. But when I went with her, I told her about my my last Wexit stream. Like I haven't told her that I'm in that Discord, and I'm not going to. Like, not stupid, but I told her about what I'd done for that stream because it was all the natives. It was all them talking about their issues and things like that. And I told her that I've been pitching for the oil fields. Like I flat out am, and I have no shame in doing it. But you know what she said, any information that I need that like I said, as long as it's not business related, stuff that I'd have no business asking for. She said they're so open for information on how they go about things and the environmental aspects of what they do and where they've gone to. And yeah, they do admit that like the history of the oil fields was dirty. It was dirty. She flat out, owned up to it to me.
Sure.
But she said, if you look into it, we're more than happy to share the information. And I said, you know what? I might take you up on the offer. Like, I told her when I do these streams, I want to be informative. I want to have the facts. If she has like pages for me to go to or books that I could read that have graphs and things like that I can share with you guys, I might do that. Like, I'm not going to enjoy it because it's going to be a hell of a lot of like experience work that I'm never going to get paid for, which is fine.
Right.
But on the other hand, I'd rather have solid facts. So when I'm posting charts, I'm not just posting charts from spooks off the internet, So I'm kind of in
like factual, substantiated data that we can
yes,
pick apart. Yeah.
exactly. So I'm actually quite excited about that. So once I get that on the go with her, she's actually very supportive of me doing this. I mean, as long as I'm actually making a deal about looking for a job on the side. She's like, unless you're actually able to make money off of internet, don't dream that up as a job, Jen. And I'm like, I realize I'm conservative, Mom. Realism there. But I do want to.
Sure.
I don't mind doing the extra mile, but
I mean, if for whatever reason we pop off and this actually does become something of an income stream, sure. It could be in addition to certain YouTubers I follow or used to follow had 9-to-5s and made a name for themselves online and actually started pushing their quote unquote real life work to the back burner and actually are doing fairly well on it. So at least keeping your options open is a great thing. Older generation doesn't really understand that. I myself, I'm Gen X.
Yeah.
I'm 40. I sort of was a little bit more skeptical, but as the years went on, like I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe, yeah, sure. And above all else, I know I am, and you've said you are. I'm having a blast doing these streams. So,
these have been really great. That actually makes it so much easier because, like, when I tried doing streams before, or when I would watch other people do their streams before, I just didn't feel like I had that confidence to really do it because you have to hold the conversation. Even just how you speak is really important. Like it's one thing for me to stutter over the odd word, which I do that, and I own up to it. But the influx of how you speak and how you keep up with it, it's really important to keep the conversation interesting too. And like I said, the information gathering is not something I there's a part of me that hates it, but honestly, there's also a part of me that genuinely likes it because I do like informing myself about things. It's just I'm very practical. It's like, what am I learning here? How is this going to like benefit me in life? Like, it's one thing to be a spokesperson for the oil field. And I would do that, absolutely. I mean, you could even get backing from them if they know that I'm interested in at least pitching for them, even at a minor level. Like they don't have a problem with it, but they might not pay me for it either. It's just the level of work you're going to put into it. So just so you know, guys, I'm not sponsored. No oil money here. No oil money here. Don't we? Don't we just wish, right? Hi, Elwin. But I do want to inform myself on it. So like when I am talking to someone who's a far lefty or like an eco person, and I don't mind listening to their end of it too. It's just I'm not paying for their paywall shit. I refuse to. I'm of the belief that if you have a side, then you should have clarity in your science. Just flat out. I get that there's some stuff that you might limit to the public just because they're not going to understand it. If they're not going to understand it, they're not going to understand it. But a person can look at that and kind of figure that out on their own, So unless it's something to do with your own business, like I said, when it comes to your own numbers, what decisions you're making, and as long as they're not illegal or you're really going to damage the environment with it, I don't need any of that stuff. That's none of my business. But I think the more transparency that we have with those companies and the more information you share, the more the regular person on the street can look at it and be like, okay, at least I know where they stand. And for the little guys who are just going to school, they can look at it and be like, well, maybe I can find ideas to improve it. I support education. Just because I didn't make those choices doesn't mean I don't think other people shouldn't.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, there's different ways to educate yourself. Just because you don't go to college or university doesn't mean you don't gain education somewhere else throughout life, throughout your vocations. So, I mean, I approach everybody with a blank slate and let them show me whether or not they're, intelligent or well learned or whatever. So.
Okay, so we've done this article. Then I'm gonna take it down. So I think the other one, I'm not sure if it might be related to yours, but I'm just gonna check. Okay, I'm not sharing.
No, I brought up some stuff with the Don Cherry thing. Yeah, now the other side is chanting and calling for Jess, whatever her snatch's name was, calling for her resignation, and it's more of the same. And something we didn't cover was Don Cherry's he had some final comments for all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I've just learned that I've been fired by Sportsnet for comments made on Coach's Corner November 9th.
Mm-hmm.
No problem. I know what I said and I meant it. Everybody in Canada should wear a poppy to honor our fallen soldiers. That's his opinion. I share that opinion, but I'm not going to mandate that you have to wear the poppy. Mm-hmm. I speak the truth and I walk the walk. I have visited the bases of the troops, been to Afghanistan with our brave soldiers at Christmas, been to cemeteries of our fallen around the world, and honored our fallen troops on Coach's Corner. To keep my job, I cannot be turned into a tamed robot. I would have liked to continue doing Coach's Corner. The problem is, if I have to watch everything I say, it isn't Coach's Corner. I agree. I want to thank everyone who has watched Coach's Corner for over the last 35 years. Remember to wear your poppy to honor our fallen soldiers. Thumbs up. You read a statement like that, even if you're so far detached from all of this stuff, and you're just kind of like, where's the hate?
Yeah. There's none there. There's no hate there. It's even in that stupid little video that I showed you, the Rebel one.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, even in like the whole speech that she had, she literally pointed out. She literally just labeled herself as a bigot.
Yeah. Her reasoning was, and if you want to find that and bring that up and play that would be great.
Okay.
She turns around and says, well, what made Jess more right in this matter was the fact that she was specific. And I'm thinking to myself, no, that is the exact definition of bigotry, of racism. You're singling out somebody based on their immutable characteristics, their ethnic makeup, and saying these people are bad. These people are privileged and bullies and blah, blah, blah. When it was quite the opposite with Cherry, when he says, you people who come here and don't sort of appreciate our traditions. That is what he was specifically referring to. And he didn't single out, oh, you black people who come here, you white people who come here, you brown people, you white twice. Well, there are many white people, right? But I mean, he didn't get down and say, these people and these people. He just said people who don't. That means he's referring to the ones who don't. He's not referring to all immigrants. But such is the narrative that's, bleeds up from the United States.
Okay, so I should be able to have it. Just let me set up the shared screen. But I'm not going to play the whole thing in sound, guys. Like, I'll play some of it, maybe pause it halfway, and then play the rest, just so that...
yeah, we can have a little bit of a dialogue, and it's not... It's fair use.
Yeah. Because I want to do that to the Rebel either, just because they do their own thing, and I don't want to own myself up to a legal thing, even though I'm technically advertising for you. Just remember, Ezra, I'm not getting paid for this. I'm not doing this at your expense. Take it as free advertisement from me. I'm just thank David Menzies.
And this is right out of Much Music Studios, the glass behind her. So that's Queen Street. That's the main high street in Toronto.
So let me actually pause it first, and then I will turn. Sure. Just make sure the sound is good.
For yourself, guys, do you agree with Jess Al?
Is it pretty good?
Yeah, it's a little on the loud side. You might be able to turn it down.
Turn it down.
A smidge.
Smidge. Okay.
A smidge. Yeah, lift it like half. No, you turned it up.
I absolutely agree with Jess Al.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, well, at least it pauses.
Have you had a bad experience with a white male hockey player?
I think she really wanted to. She hit.
She's
hit
struggling.
The nail on the head when she
hit the nail on the head. What does that mean?
Oh, is that what it comes?
Are you saying that white boys are
from
bad people?
See the correlation between Don
Cherry are you saying that you think that white boys need to be hit on the head?
Were far worse.
More often?
Absolutely.
You're saying that just all white boys should be ostracized from society because of the color of their skin, and because they decide they want to play hockey, which is a national sport, a national institution.
In white privilege, which you do see in a lot of hockey players.
Excuse me.
It's wonderful that hockey brings our
white
country
privilege.
Together. Absolutely,
even the ones who have to
everybody
do the hand me down
And
ones who
level,
do it for their
hockey,
scholarships.
baseball,
I'm sure they were doing it
football.
Because they were privileged, and not just that some people in Canada love kids.
But could you imagine? I mean, the NBA.
Where was that narrative of privilege when
if somebody
what's his face took the knee and started that whole hubbub?
And
it wasn't even initially over.
Very nice. Do you think
Kaepernick?
The media.
It wasn't even over.
Suspects would lose their minds over a comment like that.
What they spun the narrative to be, it was because he was pissed off that he didn't get the contract that he wanted.
Don't understand white privilege.
And you don't understand white privilege, and I'm not going to explain it to you because, well, you're just ignorant and you're a bigot. Okay, if I'm ignorant, why don't you tell me what white privilege is?
And why it's okay for you to dissect a whole entire group of people based off of their skin color.
Yeah, these idiots are definitely focusing on the wrong things. Like when I was a kid, there was more of a talk about the division in class.
Yeah.
In Western society. So basically, this Bernie Sanders, the 1% folks versus the rest of us. Which, okay, you have the base of the problem there, but you harp on the rich people too much. They're just like any other grouping of people. There are good people and not so good people. I don't want to say bad because that has certain connotations, but yes, there are people with vast fortunes like Bill Gates who are massive philanthropists.
Well,
they do a lot more than fucking Bernie Sanders has ever done for charity and for society, as far as improving society and improving society's outlook and helping with things like medical innovations and funding charities for people who are less fortunate, and foreign aid. Like Bill Gates is one of the people that we should all be looking up to as, for lack of a better word, but like a modern day god, like a deity of some sort, because he not only had an idea and revolutionized the world with that idea, but he gave back to the world, and he continues to give back to the world. It's a shame that people like Melinda Gates or believe the 77 cents on the dollar narrative bullshit, but I don't think that takes away from their already established philanthropism. I think it's more so of we have this thing to help girls and blah 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 blah. Can you come do a spot on our little ad? And she was like, yeah, sure, because that's just the type of person she is. The woman on the street, she's the type that just hears this, latches onto those narratives, and spouts it like it's the gospel, without any facts, without any sort of self-education on the facts, the situations and the facts at hand, and just goes with it. And, hey, Sora, how you doing, hon? And they just run with it. So I like I said to you in private chat, I feel sorry for people like her. It's the people behind the narratives who start these narratives for, what I can only imagine are just malicious and the wrong reasons to capitalize and monetize hate, because that's what it is. It certainly is hate, and it's the wrong kind of hate, because Don Cherry's portrayal of hate for people who disrespect our traditions, that's still hate, but that's, to me, not a bad kind of hate. I hate apples. Yeah, that doesn't make me a hateful person. It's just a personal choice. But when you're going out and you're attacking a person's skin color, just again, the overarching globe of immutable characteristics, things that you cannot change no matter how hard you try, because they are just a part of you, a part of your genetic makeup and how you were born. That's just wrong. That's just hateful. That's just divisive. And that's just let's get that shit out of here.
It's really one of those things that I kind of wish people would do in a lot of these areas where you get a lot of these hardcore lefties, and just to show them documentaries of places like Ukraine, or really, really poor Eastern countries in Eastern Europe. And I'm not throwing shade at them. I'm just saying that, if you were to go through those places and just pretend that you don't see anybody on the street, you're just looking at where they live, like some of the areas that are the worst of the worst, you wouldn't know that it was that different from certain places in South America or Africa if it wasn't for the background scenery.
Yeah.
They are just as poor. They come from just as hard a life ship.
And I know a lot who have immigrated here to Canada, Toronto, a lot of Russians, a lot of Ukrainians. They're just as nice as any other people, or they have the capability to be nice and good. So when I read online about all this, oh, well, you're just a Russian sleeper agent, or a Ukrainian, or why don't you go back to Ukraine? I don't take it personally, but I do get a little bit offended because they're just using that as some sort of rhetorical scapegoat, as opposed to getting to know people. Yeah. And, your government, a government, a country's government isn't indicative of the whole population. Again, we go back to, say, Nazi Germany. What was the first country that was conquered by the Nazis? Was Germany. Yeah.
I said that to my Caligula, mom. I had to really explain that one to her, because she's like, what do you mean the Nazis came from Germany? I'm like, well, yeah, but they conquered them through politics. They still did it. Yeah. They still did it.
They conquered through politics, and they took the resources of the country and the people and turned it into a armed fighting force that then conquered half of Europe.
So for the record, I wasn't throwing shade at any of these countries when I said that.
No,
I'm
I know
just
you're
saying
not. You're not. I'm
that
just saying my
when they
experience with people.
compare like immigrants coming from poor countries, like they just completely write off the fact that these Eastern European, and some of them are other European
Even the
countries
more affluent ones, like Italy, there's still
Italy and
poor
Greece,
people
like,
in Italy.
they aren't doing great either. And you know, they treat all white people like we're just on this pedestal where we come from or something. You know, and it's like, no, actually, there's a lot of people who are white who come from places where they were suffering just as much, if not more so, because a lot of it's psychological. A hell of a lot of
Just
it's
like we
psychological.
tend to say you can't treat all black people as a monolith. Well, no, you can't treat all white people as monoliths either. There's very, very different on so many levels between your average Irishman and your average Ukrainian. I'd say the only readily available thing that is similar between the two is the color of their skin. And even then, their other immutable characteristics tend to be different. So yeah, when people hold up any group as a monolith like that, in certainty, it's just wrong. Those are the wrong ideas we keep talking about. The right idea is to say, well, you know, no, there is an average event or statistic about this group of people. Now in saying that, we're obviously outright saying this is not across the board. This is not indicative of everyone. We're just saying that there's an average, a propensity for this group to do X, Y, Z versus other groups. That, I think, is a more proper way to address those kinds of issues, like when people talk about crime statistics in the United States. Certain demographics do commit more crime. Now, that's not saying everybody in that demographic is committing crimes. No, by no means, because crime in its nature is the vast minority of people. Because most people would rather live under the law and you know, some people bend or break laws that are more minor, but for a whole, you know, we don't have swaths of people running out and killing each other on the streets outside of Chicago. Sorry, that was a joke. That was probably a poor joke.
The one thing I will say that I'm grateful for Ukraine for is because when they came to Saskatchewan, they also brought those potato latkes. And those are delicious.
Fantastic. Yeah.
They're delicious. And I like using them for different potatoes. Like, I know a sweet potato is technically a root, but it makes a good latke too. It does.
Oh yeah, any kind of root vegetable, you'd be well off if you wanted to make a some sort of pancake out of.
Yeah. But I had to interrupt and say that just because I wanted to lighten the load a little bit. But it bothers me that there's this idea that they have that that there's only one group that's suffering. Like, you know, when they talk about white people with privilege, that's literally, my mind goes back to these documentaries where, you know, they show how kids are treated in and I'm not judging. I'm just saying this is just the truth. You know, some of the shelters in Ukraine and Russia and like some of the worst places. And, you know, I would cry a little bit because it's just, you know, you feel frustrated when you can't help people, you know, and I'm a bleeding heart like that. But then they try to accuse me of not feeling the same way about other groups of people. And it's like, no, absolutely, I do the same for other groups of people. It's you who don't. The thing that pisses me off is that they don't.
Man, life is suffering. Everybody's suffering.
Oh yeah.
Get on with the time.
Oh yeah.
You want
it's when it's kids though, Magic. I can't help it. When it's little kids, I'm just like, that part of me that's probably not going to be a mom is just like, oh, poor baby, you know? I can't help that. It's when I see
yeah, but that's because we come from a culture and a part of the world where we tend to give people the opportunity to better themselves and sort of support the lower, especially children, so that they can have a fair, well, not a fair, but a relatively fair shake to not be destitute and in that sort of lot in life for the rest of their life. But you know, sometimes they get stuck, and yeah, it does tug a little bit on the heartstrings to see the kids as opposed to adults.
Survival of the fittest. Fuck the rest. I mean, I the only time I can empathize was like when people got to NAM the war in Vietnam. And people that got involved into that got screwed in both ways. They didn't know what they got involved with getting into the war in Vietnam. And when they returned, they were a bunch of EPs throwing stone at them. And they could not find work. And that's really sad. That will bring a tear in my eyes. Because you get screwed in both ways by your own fucking people when you're returning, and back in Nam when you see your fucking brother in harm.
And yeah,
slathered in your
that kind of
face.
shit still happens today. Look at the first responders from 9/11 and the hearing that they had. That was some bullshit. And Jon Stewart, love him or hate him, he spoke truth to power, and he fucking showed the world that these people are selfish, entitled assholes. Congress.
I've never really hated him. Like I mean, I do believe he kind of went a little bit.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of his. Yeah.
You know, like I do think he became a little stir crazy. I miss him on the show. Like he was what I went to watch. When I watched the show.
Yeah.
Like I didn't really care as much for the other guys. Like, you know, they weren't bad when they were on his show, but they weren't him.
He had the knack to be able to put something out there, because he's a comedian, but he's also a news entertainer. But he had this knack of presenting the jokes, and you understood that they were jokes.
Yes.
And then having his guests and sometimes getting a little bit more serious and saying, and not without outright saying it, you as a viewer were like, oh, okay, this is going to be a serious moment on the show. Okay, listening to what's going on. All right. And then back to the jokes. He had that knack, that gravitas, that presence to be able to do both of it. And I don't think that your Seth Meyers, who's the guy with the glasses? John Oliver's.
Yeah.
Those guys, they're such shills.
Well, and you know, I think Jon Stewart was better at actually starting the conversation too. You know, even if it was somebody that like he posed views with, I think he was a little bit better at starting the conversation. You know, I find the other guys spend a little bit too much over talking.
The prime example is Bill Maher.
Yeah.
Bill Maher or Trevor Noah, yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, they've lost the ability to actually fully listen to the other side first before making their full judgment, you know? And the other thing too is they do seem to twist it. And it's clear that they're doing it. And it's like watching The View, but with the guys who are much funnier, admittedly much funnier.
Yeah, sure.
But it's
like I still laugh every now and then at one of Maher's Trump jokes, because it's funny and it's not serious, and it's not based on stuff we already know is really bullshit. Like if he makes a joke about how he's a womanizer, which he kind of is and kind of has been throughout his life, he's been a rich playboy. Sure, that's funny. But when he's like, and then he called up his boy Putin and gave him a slap on the ass, I'm just like, what? Come on.
Yeah, like
I don't know. Who in here has followed the Groper rally thingy?
No.
None of you?
Groper rally?
Yeah, there was Charlie Kirk, which is
Turning Point USA.
Yeah,
Turning Point USA had a Q&A session, and there were like conservatives that were just tired of all like, because conservatives are very getting tired of having people who prone conservatism, but with the lens of the liberals from 10 years ago. So they're calling them out, and it's fucking hilarious. And I think that's a good way of doing activism. If there's a local like Q&A session with their feminist group or whatever you have in your college campuses, you should film it and you should ask tough questions.
Well, they do try, but these hyper leftists tend to kick them out and don't engage and do all this underhanded bullshit to maintain their bubble. Whereas, love him or hate him, I'm not a fan of his, but Charlie Kirk allowed those other conservatives to speak and sort of poke holes in what Charlie believes. I think that's how we do things, or should be doing things. You don't censor the other side.
Well, it doesn't matter. We should do it.
Yeah,
It's
no,
a
I
good-
agree with you. We
It's a
should do
good
it.
way.
Well-
It's a good way to point out hypocrisies, and it's amazing. I've been following that this entire week and laughing my ass off.
Yeah,
Because
I watched,
the brilliant thing is,
yeah.
they used his platform to shoot down some of his ideas. That is genius. That is simple. That's gold. That's how we should be doing everything. If you don't agree with someone and you think somebody or some party has bad ideas, try to use their own platform to sort of say, well, you know, these 3 ideas here I disagree with, and this is why, and you're an idiot for thinking that.
There
So a
you
little
go.
bit of trolling in the end. That's kind of how I treat social media, and that's probably why I'm banned on Twitter and banned on so many different platforms.
And-
Is because
and it has been so successful so far that Ben Shapiro gave an hour talk about them. Ben Shapiro is really mad when you talk about Israel for some reason.
Ben Shapiro's really mad about everything, and he talks like the fucking machine man.
I haven't watched him in ages. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I still
can't.
watch him because I find him funny, but you know,
He's
for other
everything
people-
I hate about my culture. As a Jew, as another Jew, like he's everything I hate about the stereotypes and the perception of ethnic Jews.
Well,
I'm also
For
an
me, it's probably
anti-theist.
because
so-
I don't see it as often as you do. So for me, it's probably
it's just funny
You know, but-
because as soon as you mention Israel or something, he's going nuts.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you're conservative. Why should we not stop giving foreign aids to Israel? He's like, no, it's the greatest lie, and we don't do that. That's against America.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, I understand why like it's so stupid.
Oh man, I had a blast. Anyway, how was your day? Sorry, I'm just like coming in like a bull in a china shop.
no worries.
Coming
you're
out of
fine.
work, I can completely understand. I had a relatively relaxed day of housework. Ooh. Watched the 2nd episode of The Mandalorian. Fuck, that show is awesome. It really captures the essence of what made Star Wars a good franchise to begin with. You get that feeling of like samurai movie or Western movie, which artistically are relatively the same in the storytelling and the characters. And it just it sets it in this world that is just so familiar yet new. And it's really exciting because I haven't been this excited for any sort of Star Wars thing since like they announced that they were making episode 1, but that turned out to be a letdown.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Like I've never really been like a super Star Wars fan. Like I'll probably watch it at some point.
Well, the
But,
thing is, you don't have to be like super into Star Wars or a huge fan of Star Wars or anything. You can jump right in and be like, hey, this is a cool show about a bounty hunter.
Well, see, that was the nice thing about the Star Wars. Like, you don't necessarily have to be a huge fan to find them entertaining. Like, there was a point where, like, living at home, it was kind of traditional to watch, like, the originals every year. You know, it was always around Christmas time. My dad would be like, okay, we're going to have the weekend. We're just going to watch Star Wars. And, you know, we would watch every single movie. And, you know, we wouldn't do it all in one day, but, like, you know, over the weekend, we would do it. So yeah, I always found it entertaining. It was just I was never going to be the guy in the lineup for like hours beforehand, and I didn't have the posters. And I had maybe 2 books from a different series. It was like a youth trilogy or something. I can't even remember the author's name, but you know, it's like I said, it was like it's easy to find it entertaining. It's the same with Star Trek. Like I found quite often, like if it was the only thing playing on TV, I was happy to watch it. It's just I won't claim the fandom just because like I can't quote things from it, you know.
Use the Force, Luke.
Use the Force, Luke. But I think for me it was we had a robot that looked like the R2-D2 robot. Like it wasn't the same guy, but like the design was the same. So for me growing up, I was that girl who just kind of liked the robots, you know, like one of those kids.
Yeah, at its heart, those are sort of like your Rosencrantz and Guildenstern main protagonists in this world where this other adventure is going on, and that's why I understand why you gravitated to C-3PO and R2, where a lot of people did, and even just not consciously but subconsciously grasped onto these characters because they were the smaller man, so to speak, in the larger world as it's playing out. And so, yeah, it's another thing that makes Star Wars great. I could go on at length about how great Star Wars is.
Well, it's a basic concept to begin with. It's like a fantasy book told like in the space area. That's basically it.
Yeah, like I said, it's your typical Western or samurai movie with all the plot points, all the artistic directions, but set in space with space wizards and laser swords and laser guns and stuff instead of pistols and whips.
Well, if you like put it like to, I don't know, the adventure of King Arthur or some shit. It's very similar.
Yeah, the hero's journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got that little munchkin on the side that is like, you look like nothing, but he's the most powerful dude. And you got that evil wizard. It's the same fucking shit, but in space.
Yeah, it's one of our most classic stories.
That would be amazing. I'm sure it's been memed before. Yoda as Merlin. Absolutely 100%.
Yeah.
No, I always like hearing that they're doing good shows for you guys, especially since like the last bunch of them. I just won't even watch them. I just won't even watch them. I'm like, you know what? It's not my fandom, but I'm offended.
I even tried to turn off my brain and just like look at the spectacle because they look really nice. The CG, the costuming, all of that shit put together. It's a visual feast. Like it's like pornography. Just visual artistry. It's just gorgeous. But when the story is bad, when the acting is bad, when the premise is bad, when everything else is bad, it just ruins everything. And you're not missing anything.
No, and that's been for a lot of things. Like I've actually haven't been to see a movie since. Oh gosh, I think it was 2016. I can't even remember what. Yeah, I think it was the second John Wick movie. And before that, the movie I saw before that was the Godzilla movie, which I loved. Everyone hated it, but
the one
it was
with Bryan Cranston or the one after that.
I don't know. It was really cringy. It was super duper cringy. Okay. Like it was like they made Godzilla look more like the original ones, and then
that was the one where he fought the other monsters, and he had Mothra save
the Mothra.
Him. Yeah, I actually like that one. Yeah,
a lot of people hated it, and it was just like, listen, like I went in prepared for a cringy movie.
Yeah, there was a lot of campy aspects, and that's what Godzilla was originally about. It was a guy in a giant rubber costume stomping on paper buildings. Like
you think that'll be cringy? Wait until 2020. They gotta remake fucking King Kong versus Godzilla.
And King Kong is transgender and stuff, and they have to respect his pronouns. And
oh god, no!
I don't know about that. Anyway.
But is she going to compete in the next Olympics?
The last movie I saw in cinema was the one that she used as an avatar. So that's a long time ago.
That brings us to what we were talking about off air with the South Park episode that was fucking hilarious.
No worries, Sora. Okay. Sorry, I was trying to ask her if she wanted a link, but she's kind of having a hard time. So I wanted to at least offer, but like I know you're kind of in a hard situation. So, do you want one, Ellen? I wouldn't mind bringing you on. Get another female voice on. We were gonna joke with Functional because Caligula. We've been doing some day streams for Blood Wings time zone, just to kind of like keep his seat warm.
Okay.
And so I joked with Sora and Elwin that one of these days we're going to have a stream where all three of us are going to gang up on Functional. Not in a mean way. Not in a mean way. Just call it the Three Girls One Functional stream.
Oh, Lord. Some might see that as a fantasy.
Right? Man. Right? I'm pretty good at marketing. I'm just saying.
I'm scared actually.
Scared, but no, like we're gonna do it for fun and
I'll take 10 of you.
take 10 of you. Absolutely, I'll do that.
I'll debate all of you. I'm gonna win.
But it'll just be for fun. So, yeah, I'll send you a link, Elwin, if you want one. Like I said, sorry, with no pressure. I just I missed you, doll, and I just hope you're doing well. Yeah.
Think I'm sick, and you are the cure, Sora.
Yeah. She's such a sweetheart.
I don't think you can cure being French.
It's an incurable disease, but there's treatment for it.
Yeah.
It's called love.
Hollywood. Did you take any medicine before you got home?
Man, I'm just tired.
I get you.
There you go. Yeah, I heard like there was a spectacle at my job. There was that artist that was the yodelay everything, and it was hilarious. I love it. Yodelay, 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 hee hee.
Sora's throwing you a kissy face, Caligula. There you go.
I will bleach your butthole.
No worries, Sora. Next time we'll have you when everything's good for you. Like I said, I missed you, and I one of those ghost hugs I was told to give you from I think it was Rebel.
Struggle me all day long.
But,
anyway.
So I actually had a couple more articles that I was going to post. So these last two are more fun. One of them's kind of silly. And actually, I'm questioning the intelligence of pigeons once again, because I know they're really stupid, but this is really stupid. But I thought it was funny. But there's this... let's see if I can pull this one up. This one's for you, Australia. Pigeon steals poppies to make its home at Australian War Memorial.
Aww.
Staff at the tomb of the unknown soldier in the capital of Canberra had been left scratching their heads when they began noticing the poppies disappear in early October. But it turns out that the thief was in fact a pigeon who had built a colorful home near a stained glass window at the Australian War Museum. So this is the bird. And I'm just like, dude, that's a lot of pointy stuff in your direction. I'm just saying.
They're not the poppies you buy at the Legion. There's no pins. These are actual flowers growing out of the ground.
Oh, is that what they are? Okay.
Yeah. That's why I was like, oh, that's so sweet, because she, I guess, is just using what's at hand
to make her dance.
Because now's the time of year that they bloom.
Okay, I thought these were the actual like our poppies. It was like
stealing them off of people. No,
yeah, well, not off of people. If they had like stands where they had like the bins or something. I just had this image of them like taking the pins, and I'm just like, no, those are pins. Don't you put those near your babies?
No, they were stealing them off people. They're Antifa pigeons, people. This is how you get Antifa pigeons. Dive
bombing. But the maintenance worker clock, they found the nest basically. So this poor guy, he's so cute. Look at him.
It is so cute. They're such dirty animals, but that's just adorable.
The thing is though, like I've been to Europe. It was one of those treats from my mom when she retired. She sold a bunch of shares from her time of working in the oil fields, and she was like, Jen, the chances of you going to Europe and having a good time at this point are very slim, so I'm going to take you now. And so when I went there, these birds are super friendly because they're so used to people feeding them all the time. So I bought this little bag of corn and, fed a bunch of birds. And this one little guy just sat on my shoulder and he wouldn't get off. He was just like sitting there looking at me. He's just like, I know you could go buy more. I know you can. So
it would be like, hey, bird, we got no problems. I got no issues with you. You poop on me, I'm breaking that fucking neck.
But he was so cute, like he was so sweet, and he actually let me pet him. Like I actually pet him. Like I gave his head a couple pats and fluffed his feathers a little bit, and he was super sweet. And then I eventually just picked him up and, put him down and he flew off. And
Yeah, a lot of the ones here in I've experienced in like New York and Chicago, they're also very acclimated to humans. They're just dirty as fuck. And
oh
I
yeah.
don't
Don't get me
touching
wrong.
them,
I went home and I bleached everything to the best of my abilities on a trip. Like I was using like baby wipes and I showered twice.
yeah.
But I was just like, just for the experience, like I didn't eat anything afterwards either, just because I was like, just based off of not being. And then this is Europe.
You don't know it's a wild animal. You don't know where it's been, what it
Yeah.
could be or could not be carrying. So
Yeah.
why take the chance?
Well,
That's part of human innovation, like we were talking about the other stream. We understand these things, these concepts, and they help us survive longer.
Yes, they help prevent things like plague. Just saying. But
Exactly.
But like still, like I see that sweet face, and it's just if I could have brought him home and made a pet out of him, I would have. But I know that's not ethical either. So he's probably not better off on the street. Let's be real. Vets do a lot to save birds. Just saying.
Yeah, well, I mean, that has to do with a lot of species, including us.
So the last article that I had to share is the best one. And you know which one this one is. I'm not going to share the sound because I'm not going to play the clip. Like I'm not willing to do that.
Is it the one with the Macho Man, tranny savage?
Macho Man!
Strong woman, you're going down.
Like, just based off of where I'm streaming this from,
yeah,
I'm not playing anything on here. But we could read the article, give them a free ad. I'm not making any money, ET, just so you know. So take this as it is for,
And if anybody's been on the fence about keeping up with South Park, do it. It's still relevant and still fucking hilarious.
And
You'll
honestly, right now it's a breath of fresh air. Like right now, with how much pressure a lot of people have been feeling, having something to laugh at is kind of nice. And it's not directed at trans people. It's just this situation is just kind of ridiculous as it is.
It's relevant, yeah.
But thank you, Brent, for your. And I'm not going to bother with your last name. I made my best attempt, but I'm sure you're used to it.
Furdick.
But so we'll just do this real quick. So South Park has been no stranger to controversy throughout its 23 seasons. Absolutely not. In fact, they've had death threats. Don't they have like security with them like 24/7 too?
I wouldn't say 24/7, but yeah, they do take that. Matt and Trey do take a little bit of extra security when they have to do press junkets and such. Yeah. Because I mean, as anyone who's been keeping in the news cycle recently, they had the big thing with China, again about their TV show, yeah, and
before that it was the Muhammad thing, like
Islam, and before that, they offend people, and their response is a big fuck you, I don't care.
And my response to everything is just remember, for everything that they've offended you for, just remember what they did to the Mormons.
Sure.
All white people, just saying. Well, not all, but mostly. But
they don't care about their target. They just, if there's fun to be had, they'll have fun with it.
The last episode I've watched was about North Korea, and I think it was Stan making shit battered cookies.
Yeah.
He just said to the North Korean Kim Jong-un, "I just shit in your batter," and he was so offended that he started a nuclear war with America, and everybody was freaking out. Was great.
Okay, so I'll read through this pretty quick before I cough from my little hoot. Okay, so according to the Hollywood Reporter, the animated comedy episode Bored Girls, which aired Wednesday, offered a satirical take on the hot button issue of trans athletes, with the plot involving school vice principal strong women competing in a strong women competition. She faces steep competition when a new entrant hits the scene named Heather Swanson, who looks and sounds exactly like late WWE superstar Randy Macho Man Savage. And unfortunately, Savage passed away in 2011 at the age of 58. And sorry to his family,
Yeah, it was great. A great icon from the 80s.
you know, he was in the cartoon. I remember him so much from that cartoon. Like I remember him from the stage, but I watched WWE because my brother was always 100 pounds heavier than me. So that
Jen
was the
needed to
rule
learn
there.
how to defend herself.
Yeah. It was just like, okay, well, you know, I'll just pretend like I'm not seeing a lot of genitalia through spandex. But Heather explains that she began identifying as female 2 weeks ago, just so she could participate in the competition. I know you guys are like, what did she just say? I'm not here to talk about my transition. I'm here to kick some fucking ass, she says, claiming to be ready to smash the other girls. Well, episode was clearly meant to provoke. At least one actual transgender athlete is not impressed. On Thursday, world track cycling champion Rachel McKinnon, who is trans, took to Twitter to dismiss the episode as lazy and blasted series creators Matt Stone and Trey Parker as transphobes. No. I don't think they are. I think they're just seeing a little hypocrisy from your part of it. And I think that you're not open enough to see your hypocrisy on their side of it. Because Matt and Trey, that's their sense of humor is hypocrisy. It's always been hypocrisy and sarcasm and a little bit just enough truth. And that's why it pisses people off. But anyway, she's not particularly mad about the South Park episode. Well, that's clearly not right because she wrote something about it. But yes, it's transphobic. Yes, it's lazy. Yes, it contributes to harm to trans women and girls. Actually, girls aren't a part of that. I'm not a trans woman. I am a girl. There's nothing about me that is trans. I've never once viewed myself with penis or anything to do with that.
You can make an outrage out of everything. Let's say I took the opposite, if I can say, oh, you're portraying my great Randy Savage as the fucking tranny. What's wrong with you? That guy was so great. I'm offended right now.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Want a bit of little excitement? He's not with Slim Jim.
He's not even alive to defend himself. There's a point right there, and you know, I bet you his family's probably like, "Oh boy," but they're lazy and increasingly.
Well,
irrelevant.
you know why that they use like the guy who looks like it actually wasn't Macho Man, but it was just he looks like Macho Man and acts like him. You know why they did that, right? Because the meme Macho Man Tranny Savage from the GameStop person who flipped out. It's ma'am. Actually, it's ma'am. That guy, he was dubbed Macho Man Tranny Savage on online, and it was a huge meme. So that's why they use that portrayal, because then people would be like, "That's clever. That's fucking clever. That's really clever.
Very clever." I didn't even think about that. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, now that I've got that in my head. But you know, the thing
all kind of makes sense.
the thing with Randy Savage is he was also one of those really flamboyant actors too.
Yeah.
Like I remember all of his outfits being like
And his
possessed.
theme song, the tassels. Yeah, he was right out there with just this sort of colorful explosion and expression.
But
It
Very
was
animated.
the 80s to the max. It was 80s in your face.
Yeah.
You know, down to the hairspray. Like I was afraid in the 80s to have like a, you know, I'm glad that I was too young to smoke because I think I would have lit some people's hairs on fire. But yeah, let's just go on with this one. But yeah, so she's saying they're lazy and increasingly irrelevant. I hate to break it to you, but I have to call you on that one too. I mean, it's only been one sentence, but the fact that they're doing this is getting them a lot more intelligent people watching. Because we're all sick of this whole you guys can't face your own hypocrisy. You really can't. I understand that you have an issue where like you deserve to be able to compete, don't get me wrong, but your situation is very different. They really have to work out something where you can do it.
I'm just happy with the entire situation, to be honest, because it's gonna be feminists against
They already
activists.
are.
Well, turfs.
Oh, they already are. Oh man, that fight is
have you-
getting really heavy. It's actually
Did either
pretty
of you-
funny.
Did either of you actually like watch the episode?
I haven't yet. I have
I've
to
Okay,
watched
watch
because
the
I have.
segment. I've watched the segment.
Well, no, because my point is like you have to have watched the entire episode because absolutely no one is talking about one of the other subplots in the show,
Yeah.
which was the boys, Cartman and his friends, had a gaming club at school.
Oh.
And younger boys tend to be less intellectual than their female counterparts at the same age. So the subplot here was that these girls actually came into the gaming club and were kicking their butts. So they were playing things like D&D, tabletop miniature games, all this kind of shit, and they were kicking their butts because they'd studied the rules ahead of time and planned out strategy ahead of time, being more academic about the experience than the boys were, who were just kind of like show up and didn't exactly adhere to every last little rule. And Cartman flipped his shit. He's like, this is unfair. The girls are actually using the rules and ruining the experience for us and blah, 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 blah. So it was like, obviously, because it's a sort of jab at white Cartman, white boys, nobody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about the other subplot of the transgender thing, which they're two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Saying that they both arrive at the same apex at the end of the show because Shannon, I don't know, Macho Man and Cartman are basically saying the same things. Like they're standing right next to each other saying, this is unfair. This is unfair.
Yeah.
It was so funny.
See, that's the beauty of these guys. I do want to watch this. I'm glad you've seen it. Like, I do want to see this episode.
Dude, I'm telling you, start at the beginning of the season and watch it all the way through. It's so good. But yeah, like, their subtlety and their nuance sometimes is just fucking fantastic.
So yet again, it's not even irrelevant. It's the fact that she thinks that they're lazy. Like this tells me that this person can't watch the whole episode and really see anything. All she saw
they probably
was
haven't watched anything. They probably read some article from Mary Sue or some other feminist rag, and that's how these things catch on. And then they sweep through Twitter and.
It's amazing. That's why I'm so glad that we do these. I would love to have permission to just like stream little clips from the episode. Hey, Matt and Trey, if you ever see this, like I said, I'm not making any money here. I won't even charge you for it. Like, I won't even ask for money from YouTube, although they'll probably make money anyway because that's YouTube. But for them, it'll probably be like less than a penny from Canada.
You can even see at Pierce's comment, he probably didn't even watch the show either.
Bitingly
sharp, yeah.
Brutally honest. Women's sports is going to be destroyed unless authorities deal with this issue ASAP.
And again, from that, it's sort of like, well, did you watch the rest of the show?
Yeah.
No, probably not. Again, Pierce, popular MSM mouthpiece, probably only heard all of this secondhand.
Yeah.
It's what a lot of these mainstream mouthpieces do, and people who are so easily countered in debate.
This picture.
Yeah. Oh, the one on the right, the third place one. There's like this MMA scene where he just fucking blasts her and just destroys her.
It's like I said, it's just. I do want to watch it for the other side of it too, just because like I'll probably find that funny too.
Yeah.
But it's stuff like this that they're not seeing, and that's where I have to call them out. Like, how can you see that and not be like, okay, well, maybe there's an issue with this. It's not that you're so much stronger than them. It's like there's obviously something very different with you.
And another one of the subplots, I don't know how familiar you or anyone else is with the show, but there's a newer character, the principal, PC Principal. Yeah. So he's like a dude bro, but he's super PC bro. And he has some sort, because obviously he's going to be on the side of transgender activists who want to see, them compete in sport and who are, totally supportive, but then comes to some sort of a realization with himself that, wait, maybe there does have to be a line drawn somewhere. And so that was also very relevant, very sharp, very witty, very subtle, even though that was more or less the main plot of the episode was his dealing with it because the second place girl, strong woman, is his girlfriend, and they have 5 kids with. Yeah, I'm echoing badly.
I just added Elwyn, so I don't know if it's that. It took me a little bit to notice that you were there. Ooh,
Yeah, probably.
let me close my screen down though.
We have both of our computers in like basically one studio, so you can hear the echo is kind of a little bit far away because she's a good 5 feet away from me.
Not a big deal. I was like, yay! We got our 4th person, guys. We got another gal. Yeah, I'm glad to cover that one, just because, like I said, I'm really excited to look it up. It's just I have to find a site that'll allow me to watch it, which I know they exist. I actually have one saved. I just haven't used it in a while.
Plus TV isn't the most important thing in the world. There's other things that you're concentrating on.
Yeah, I just haven't. I haven't had time to backtrack, and I know if I do it, I'm gonna probably want to watch that season and probably at least
Go
some
down
of
the
the
rabbit
last
hole.
season too.
Yeah.
Just to kind of catch up with it. And I haven't watched South Park in probably 2 years because when I do it, sometimes I go through all the old episodes too. Because it's a mini sarcastic history lesson over the last 4 presidential elections, really, because it starts with Bill Clinton. And even if it's not like necessarily like I wouldn't use it for school, don't use it for like a history lesson in school.
Mm-hmm.
But they have a very good way of describing throughout the whole thing what was kind of going on, like you kind of remember like what the mind thinking was at the time, even if it is through jokes and sarcasm.
Yeah, it's become a part of it's the satirical lens on the day's events.
Mm.
Oh god, the echo is bad.
But it's just one of those valuable little lessons that I like to take because it's honestly you do this anytime you look at anything historical. It doesn't have to be South Park. It could just be anywhere in the world. And you see it's the same cycle of politics.
You see that actually in things as far it's so I can't in Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm.
You see that satirical lens in certain aspects of some of his writing.
He had to be a lot more careful, though, Shakespeare, when he was writing his plays, because people could actually get killed. That's why a lot of his stuff was entrenched in humor and sort of a lot of allegory, because if he actually did it too realistic, then he would have been absolutely lambasted by the powers in charge. So that kind of spawned the whole thing, where satire sort of came into being, because it's a way to express your political and your social views without actually putting yourself literally on a stake. Though now with social media, everyone
Drawn and quartered is no joke, guys.
No, it's not. And
no,
that's where it started.
Especially not when you're looking at your own balls. And good luck if you're a girl, because it's still going to be your intestines.
Yep.
So, yeah, different context, guys. Always different context. Oh, yeah, that was a history lesson. I mean, part of me was very morbid and like, oh boy, thank God, my family had kids before anything bad happened to them. But I don't have any history of that, so I'm like, thank God. But yeah, satire was invented for a reason. It's also a good outlet. It's such a good outlet.
The funny things, funny parentheses I can bring is that the movie Animal Farm was only adapted in French in 2008, I think. And it was banned for Britain for the longest time because it's actually made by the CIA and based on Orson Welles' stories.
Watership Down is kind of the same sort of deal, where Watership Down was supposed to sort of mimic sort of a society going under, and so while it is marketed as a children's book, it's definitely supposed to be a societal reflection.
Yeah, that movie used to give me nightmares. Just saying. I mean, the rabbits were really cute, but that first little storyline thing that they did used to give me nightmares when I was a little kid. Just saying.
I took a course at U of T on children's literature, and what it basically boiled down to was what we were discussing. We started off with, the whole oral history of fairy tales and things like for example, the best one I can think of is Little Red Riding Hood. First of all, the whole red cloak. It's okay, if you don't want to get attacked, don't be, overly out there, and go where you're supposed to be going. It's kind of like it was meant as a cautionary tale. Same with Hansel and Gretel, which terrified me of the elderly for years. When I was in preschool, it was connected to a elder like a an old folks home, and after they read us Hansel and Gretel, they were like, oh, let's go visit the elderly people. And I don't really have too much of a memory of it, but apparently I came running, this is 3-year-old me, screaming out of the room, just going, don't let them eat me, don't let them eat me, because I mean, I got it clearly. But that's the whole point initially of oral histories done in like fairy tales for children. It was how to teach your child to be, societally aware of things without actually breaking it down in such a way that they would look at you with like kind of a blank expression. It was kind of like to slowly introduce them into societal norms and what not to do and things to be cautious of.
Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, I did really like the story. Like, it's a well done book. But yeah, the movie definitely gave me nightmares. But I had to watch it in daycare. Like, it was one of those things they would play at least a couple times. So I like 6-year-old me watching this, and I'm just like, oh, rabbits are scary.
Yeah. No, it's interesting with that. But yeah, no, it's fascinating when you look at children's literature, and even that's why like people are saying, don't ignore, like I worked at a bookstore for 6 years, Indigo, and I actually worked in the children's department as pretty much the supervisor. So I was actually allowed to I'll suggest what I wanted to be stocked, how I wanted to, like what I thought would be good for marketing. And I had a lot of say in things. And one of the things that people seem to think young adult fiction is all like Twilight, but things like Ender's Game, things that are really reflective. You'll find a lot of it in young adult fiction, and actually a lot of young adult fiction is a lot more mature than people give it credence for. And so for children that are, you maybe don't want them reading, like Ayn Rand just yet, you can introduce them to some things in young adult fiction. And there's a huge, it's a huge market right now for a reason, because it's actually appealing to a lot more of an adult audience, because it's written in such a way that it's not in your face.
Yeah.
But people are getting the messages.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. For me, I worked at an Indigo for about 9 months. It was one of those short time things, because yeah, I'm sure you remember.
Yeah, no, Indigo has they will hire people for like Christmas season and stuff like that, and then if you don't have a good manager and you don't have somebody who's advocating for you, like I had a manager who knew me for so long that what they would do is they would take me aside. They're like, so what do you think of this person? Should we keep them on? And I'd be like, yeah, they're doing a really good job. Or no, this person like takes ridiculously long smoke breaks where they're like just getting high and coming back. Like I wouldn't not rat them out per se, but I'd be like, is there anyone else? But I was pretty objective in that in that front. But I did have for the longest time a really amazing manager who basically would tell me, like, it's like, yeah, we're technically not allowed to have like coffee on the floor, but you know what, just tell people to keep it, like for like the cashiers and stuff like that, but just, or even for the employees, just keep it behind the counter. And he taught me a really good lesson. He said, honestly, the best way to have a good staff is to let them break the rules a little bit at a time. They're 5 minutes over their break. You know what? It's not the end of the freaking world.
Yeah.
You know, occasionally he would go around, like, because, you know, they sold the little Godiva chocolate bars, and he would like put them in her pockets and stuff like that. And it's like, obviously, the store was taking a loss, but he's like, if you let people get away with little things just to make them happy, on the whole, you'll get a really good dynamic. And I did work at a Chapters, because when the original Indigo I was at closed down, they told me, oh, you have a pick of anywhere. And I was like, well, I wanted to go downtown, but then I was like, okay, well, I'll go somewhere closer first. And everyone there was miserable. I think I lasted there 9 months before I asked for a transfer, because it was bad management. And if you do not have a manager that is supporting their employees, what you're going to get is an increase in theft. You're going to get a decrease in attendance. You're going to get really shitty ass employees who treat the customers with complete disregard, who don't care about their job. And ultimately sales are going to plummet, and jobs are going to be lost. So you have to give a little to get a lot from a company. And a lot of bosses don't understand that, and that's a sad thing. And so they let people go who would be amazing assets, because they don't want to pay the wage. They don't want to give the hours so that the people can actually, you know, afford to live. And it's really sad.
Yeah.
I actually ultimately left simply because I said, look, I'm working as a manager and I'm not getting paid as a manager. Yeah. Either you match that or I'm going to have to look elsewhere. And they're like, we'll give you a really good reference letter, because they just weren't able to justify paying me what I was worth for the company. So it was their loss ultimately.
Yeah. They're kind of like, they were kind of like that when I was there, you know. For me, it was it was more like the fact that they'd changed hands when I got hired on. Like the original supervisors were really good. You know, the management wasn't attentive. You know, like they weren't really around. So in that sense, I wouldn't say they were good managers. Like they weren't bad, but they weren't good because they weren't there. They didn't really, you know, they left everything in the hands of their supervisors. So like the thing is, the supervisors changed hands, and the new supervisors, like honestly, it was just an arrogance thing. You know.
Yeah.
And I just I've done enough work in that kind of field to know that like you're just not going to argue with that kind of a person. And when you don't have, like, you know, the appeal of the management, you're not going to get anywhere anyway. So I play my best bets with those and just try to leave on a good face anyway.
Yeah.
You know. And that's what I did with that situation. But the thing with the Chapters is, like, I quite honestly did go to the quite often I'd go to the teen literature. Not all the time, but for some of them, yeah. Like some of the darker stuff, you'd be reading it and just be like, is this really something that a teenager is reading? Because some of them do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but yeah, you know, they also had a fairly big a manga section too. Like,
yeah. The manga stuff, I remember when that was sort of introduced. And I don't know if it was countrywide, but I know in Toronto it was me and my ex actually kind of spearheaded getting the manga stuff into, and more importantly, we wanted Toronto content specifically to gear people more into it, to compete with the comic book stores. But yeah, no, I mean, they gave me a lot of rope in terms of what I could and could not do. And I would set up specific tables. I would, you know, like give them lists of books that I thought that should be ordered in, because I noticed there's also a large amount of children that were really intelligent. These are like 8 and 9 year olds, and they'd outgrown Harry Potter. They needed something a little bit more. They were thinkers. And the problem is the parents thought their only option was children's literature, and then there was, straight to hardcore, adult,
Yeah.
like David Eddings and that sort of thing for fantasy, for example. But there's a middle ground, and I was trying to introduce parents to some of that because I knew some of the things that I've been reading, because I've been reading since I was 2. So, and my dad was a teacher librarian, so he would bring home like boxes of books, and I would just sit there and read. Like constantly, and so I knew a lot of what was out there, and there's a lot of really intelligent children, and I find that a lot of people, it drives me nuts because I have 2 nephews, and they watch a lot of like the Cartoon Network and stuff like that, and but they could be watching something a little bit more, but there's so much restrictions on children, and children are more intelligent than we give them a lot of credit for.
Well, it's kind of ridiculous because if you really were to like picture your parents or your grandparents at that age and what it was they were actually doing, yeah, they're a lot more intelligent than we give them credit for.
Yeah.
Like kids at that age could like take apart a TV. It might have been like something from the 70s, but they could take it apart and put it back together. Could all of them do it? No. But that's a lot of what they would do. Like, kids back in the day would find projects and they would work with their hands and they would make shit and they would make shit up and they would make up games. Yeah. Most kids today get taught games. It's I'm not saying there aren't groups of kids that don't come up with games. They do. Some of them are really retarded. Like, let's eat Tide Pods. But, there are certainly kids who come up with games, but it's not even close. It's never going to be as close. When you know that as a kid, you could take a pile of rocks and make a whole family out of them and start little wars between rock families. Yeah. Most kids are looking at you like, what the hell are you on?
Yeah, no, I was
Boredom.
one of those kids. Yeah, like I was one of those kids where people would be like looking at me and going like, what? And I would have teachers saying, you can't read that. That's over your age limit. I'm like, bitch, I can read this. Like, I had to have my parents come in at one point and just like yell at one of my teachers because she would refuse to let me read past my supposed reading level. I'm like, lady, I can read more than that. And I think Functional is a huge reader as a kid as well, and a huge he's really hands-on. I get the distinct impression that he was really advanced as a kid as well. Yeah. So
yeah, the one Deck Train pointed out was Christian Andersen. He's actually not bad. No. He's not bad because he does tackle a lot of dark subjects, but it's one of those ones that you probably should do with a parent anyway. Just because they do get into subjects that like a lot of kids need a little context for, especially in this day and age. But some of those stories, when you're that age and you have the internet and you look up history, you realize that some of those dark stories are more accurate than you'd think.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes them so dark. Yeah. I'm not saying that in his time zone that's what it was happening or anything. It's just, it's not like 200 years ago our ancestors weren't looking at the past and being like, yeah, our ancestors were fucked up too.
Yeah.
But from a different perspective from ours.
Yeah. Well, he was still part of the whole traditional fairy tale, cautionary tale, hiding sort of the societal impact stuff in literary form. And then Disney took over, of course, and everything kind of all went to shit because everything's all like rainbows being pooped out of unicorns. So, like,
we can live off of unicorn farts.
Like that, the Little Mermaid is so reduced from the actual story. It's not even funny. Like,
oh yeah,
like, spoiler, that bitch dies. Okay. It's a cautionary tale of, be careful what you wish for, and there are consequences for your actions. And I think it's lost on so many kids because Disney's obsessed with happy endings, and so are a lot of the SJWs and everything, and everyone's obsessed with a happy ending. And I think that's why, honestly, like shows like House MD and stuff like that are so popular, because his whole philosophy was guess what? There aren't happy endings. You know, life is pain. You know, like
Yeah.
that's that you have to learn how to work within it.
Yeah.
Within that structure.
And they really lost on what the romance of the Little Mermaid was in the whole thing. Is like she dies, but she also did it as a sacrifice. Like throughout the whole thing, she's sacrificing her for this love that she has for this man that doesn't, even towards the end, he doesn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's another little tidbit in there for the kids. It's like, well, you know, the other thing too is she never said anything. I mean, she couldn't have, but.
Yeah.
At the same time, you wonder if she could have, you know, like, could she have written something?
Yeah, like there's a lot of it again. It goes to the whole be careful what you wish for,
Yeah.
and that you know that when you're when you're jumping into relationships and stuff like that, don't be led blindly by by a leash because you know what you think might happen, it might not be what's in your best interest, and you know. People are blinded by shows like movies like Twilight and you know the crap that you see on the CW and whatever that's being marketed today. And I think kids are actually a lot smarter than that, and it's really sad how people are dumbing it down. And I think it's the same with politics and things like South Park and stuff like that. People are like, oh, we don't want our children to watch this. I'm like, well, guess what? 50 years ago, your children would be reading this.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, like, just based off of what Functional told me, because, like, I haven't watched it yet. Like, I mean, I knew about the Randy Savage, and that made me excited because that, you know, I like I said, I was never really a WWE fan because my brother was 100 pounds heavier than me. It was more his decision, but it's not like I don't have memories of it. Mm-hmm. So, like, yes, it's poking fun a little bit at the trans athletes too, but like the layers that is in that show, you know, I think a lot of the kids are too dumb to really understand it. Like it's even to the point like the cyclists, they're really too dumb to really understand it. And it's actually something that came up ages ago about, yes, the literature has been dumbed down. Yes, the cartoons and the entertainment for kids has been dumbed down. The other thing that's been dumbed down is the music. The music has been dumbed down because the lyrics are dumb. Like, there's no point to half of the lyrics. I can't listen to Miley Cyrus for the love of God because her lyrics are so fucking stupid. And her, you know, and it's a lot of them. And they repeat the same song. So, like, you know, last week was a treat because I re-explored, like, the 80s and the 70s. And it was just interesting to see songs that actually had a point to it, you know?
Yeah.
And even to their layer, like, even their stories weren't as complicated as, like, earlier songs. It's just their beats better.
Yeah, like I'm a diehard Matthew Good fan, and the reason for it is because his lyrics have actual significance. Like they mean something, and listening to his music is incredibly cathartic. The fact that he wrote an entire album while in the hospital is phenomenal to me. And also, if you listen to his lyrics, you really understand a lot of the story, and he interjects a lot of political turmoil and the whole thing. Like there's this whole song that he did called "Advertising on Police Cars," kind of showing how our society is going to the point where social media and everything is taking over to the point where there's going to be advertising on literally police cars. And when you look at and you break that down, it's really interesting. And Deck Tran, if you're looking for a cartoon that actually has some really decent morals and really decent values, look to Frankenweenie, and that was a Ted Burton one. And people think oh, cute zombie dog, but there's a lot of really significant lessons that are in there, and it's a lot deeper, and it's hard not to see that it's deeper when you watch it. So just as if you're looking for a cartoon that actually kind of means something, it's a good one. It's a little sad, but it's a really good movie.
The series I was watching when I was young was the Batman animated series.
Oh, that was great. I loved that one.
I'm not a big fan of like superheroes in general, but you see the intention of the villain and how they misconstrue reality. It's very deep for a kid show. I really love it.
Yeah. No, that's actually a really good example, and even Star Wars the animated series. Like I know Functional's really big on that, and I'd love to hear his input on some of the themes and the systems of it, because I think it's more true to the traditional Star Wars than a lot of the movies that have come out. Is the animated series.
I think Functional got high.
No.
But did you get high? That's okay though. But yeah, no, I know what you mean there, Magic. I really liked that version of Batman a lot. Actually, more than the newer stuff that came out, just because like the design was so well done and it was darker. Um,
Well, the team was lifted up straight up for the Danny Elfman team from
Yeah.
the '89 Batman. So yeah, it was great all around. But the storytelling in that show was amazing
yeah, yeah.
because you could understand the motivation of the villain and how they screw reality. They have a skewed view of reality. So yeah, it was great all around.
Now, were you raised on like Asterix and stuff like that, Caligula?
No,
No. Okay.
that's fucking bullshit. I was raised on Nightmare on the Elm Street.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he's back.
That's what the type of shit I watched like I was when I was 3 years old.
Yeah.
But like I said the other day, it's the only time that it actually worked. I mean, you don't get scared by horror movie most of the time lately in your life because there's a possibility of denial. But when you're a child, your imagination is running wild. So watching an horror movie when you're a child is really affect you.
So I'm not saying this is a complaint, but for me growing up, I had 12 channels. And only one of them was kind of geared towards kids, but like at the same time, it was half like, the Animal Network. And then there was the French channel. And I was always like, well, the French channel has cartoons, and I would watch them, but like I'm like, what the hell are they saying? I don't know. Why the hell do I have this channel?
I get you. I was watching the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle in English. I didn't understand a fucking clue, but there was turtle and they were eating pizza. I was like, yay.
Like it wasn't a resentment thing. It was just like, there's very little for me to watch that like I can watch because like, my parents were good about making sure that they knew what I was watching. And I could watch certain things with them on their channels, but the cartoon channels that we had were like, you maybe had 5 to 6 cartoons that were okay. And then I would cycle through like these nature shows, and after a while, those get really boring when you're a kid. And then I'd get to the French channel. I'd just be like, these guys are kind of weird. What the hell are they doing? No one to put it into context. And I think that it's just interesting when you're a child and you're trying to figure out, like, what?
Yeah.
They could have fixed it if they'd just put like subtitles in there,
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't have those back then.
No. Now, my parents were the kind of parents that like I wasn't able to use the TV remote till I was about 12. And prior to that, my parents would really until I was about 8, my father would like videotape in advance like pre-approved shows, and then he would put it on for a specified amount of time, and that was what I was allowed to watch. So I didn't watch sitcoms. I had no concept of anything until I was much older, and even then my television was very restricted. So I can remember, like certain things that I'd watch, and usually would end with, with Star Trek and the Next Generation. That would be kind of like the end of the night, kind of. That's when sort of TV ended for me. But I did wind up watching a lot of National Geographic. Really, really got into Jacques Cousteau and all of the adventures and stuff like that went along with that, and a lot of TVO and whatnot, and it was really good.
I would say I watched it sometimes, Sora, for Zaboomba Fu, but not very often because that one came quite a bit after my time. Like if I watched that one, it was usually if I was at home sick, because it would play during the daytime for me, and it was I can't remember. Good God, it's been forever.
That shit was translated.
YTV. It was YTV for me.
That shit was
At that time.
translated in French for some reason. The dubbing was hilarious, and when I was high during my teenage year, I was watching it. It was the funniest thing watching that little monkey trying to rap. It was great.
Oh gosh, I'm imagining that.
That would have been hilarious. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, like I said, I was a teenager for that. Like I wasn't high when I watched it, but yeah, it was funny for that.
It came up with the worst fucking rapping line ever, but that was still great. I was high as a kite, and it was good to watch.
But yeah, no, I actually haven't seen South Park or a lot of South Park, so I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Jen. So I have to sort of catch up, because I when they brought in PC Principal and stuff like that, I kind of I sort of detached a little bit, because I thought maybe they were pushing it a little too much in my face, and I was like, I have to deal with this all the time on like Facebook. I don't really want to watch it all over again. But
yeah, it looks like they've done another turn this year, and I'm kind of glad that they have. But at the same time, it's not even about that. It's just it wasn't really worth looking it up, because like up here in Canada, like I mean, you guys probably have a little better for you, but for me over here, there are sites that I can go to get it. I found them, but it was a pain in the dick finding them. And so it was just kind of like, is it really worth it for me to go out to look for it? If it's not even something I'm interested in at the moment. But the last couple of years, I imagine I've heard a lot of episodes that were pretty good. So I do want to catch up. Like I want to go back and see the Winnie the Pooh one. I want to see the whole season. And give them a fair shot, because I've always liked them. Like I don't have a problem with them having a different view at certain times, because it's they're gonna do what they want to do. They've always been like that. But I do appreciate it. I do appreciate it, because, like I said, like right now it's so hard to find things to laugh at, and at least they have enough money and power to do whatever the hell they want and still at least have people watch. I mean, they might not get it on the networks, but they have their own webpage. It's not like people can't get their stuff at other places. So they don't have as much of that fear as other people do of total annihilation. So I appreciate that they're saying it.
yeah. No, it's good.
So he's our fellow from France, Caligula.
Oh, am I?
No, Samuel, Regent. Yeah, we had
Hey
him
Sam, how's it going?
Hey Sam, we had him on yesterday. He's from France, and so he said he's had some stuff to tell us. We had a good conversation, and I'll have to bring him on with you one of these days. And I shared one of your folk songs from Quebec with him yesterday, and he enjoyed that, and it was good.
Okay. Well. Okay. Comment ça va, mon pote?
I have no idea what you just said.
Look, The Never Ending Story. That's a movie I will show to my kids.
Oh, that's my favorite movie.
Mhm.
Like all-time favorite movie.
That shit is so sad when the horse is not like convinced that he wants to traverse and just like, I don't know, drowning into the mud and shit.
Well, it's really symbolic too because it's teaching a lot of children. Like it's really sad because I think it hits a lot of children and adults in a very sensitive place because it's talking about how if you don't fight against the darkness or the sadness that's inside you, then you're just going to sink, and nothing can save you, and the only person that can really save you is yourself. And I think it's one of those aha moments for a lot of people, and it can be very overwhelming, and I think that's why it traumatized a lot of
It's
children.
good. I love it. The fucking werewolf and the flying dog puppet and
Hey,
that fucking
that's Falcor.
yeah,
You don't say anything bad about Falcor. Those are fighting words.
look, the fucking monster made of rock and shit. That shit was trippy. Who the fuck made that? Great. I love it.
It was wonderful because of the symbolism and just the whole thing behind it. And even you're terrified of this werewolf thing or the wolf that's coming after you. And then when he explains that he's just the messenger, he's not actually out to get anyone. He is literally just doing his job. He is kind of like he is death. That
Mhm.
is just his job. He is just there to do it. He doesn't have qualms one way or another. This is just who he is. Like that is his purpose. And it takes a lot of time to kind of think about that, but when you do kind of break it down, it it's not the fact that you have to be afraid of sort of these things which are personifying a larger unknown, and that is sort of the lack of free thinking, which is the whole purpose of it. That's what the darkness is. It was the lack of free thought and imagination and the ability to be creative and ability to be yourself and speak freely.
Yeah.
And it's a very relevant movie
I
actually
had to
for
rewatch it.
times.
I just remember sporadically like the horse drowning in mud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of those movies that I've rewatched from my childhood, and I do get the second degree now, like RoboCop or what's the other one? Starship Trooper.
I snuck into that one underage. That was the first movie I ever did that to. I argued my way in with a bus pass, and I was very proud of myself for it. I manipulated my way in
But
underage with a bus
when you're
pass.
young, you don't get the second degree. It's just like a stupid action movie, right?
Yeah.
But when you get older and you rewatch them, you see, holy shit, those movies are brilliant.
Mhm.
Especially RoboCop. It's like premonition shit. Like Detroit is really in that state right now. They need a RoboCop for real. Anyway,
I love that you guys are having a conversation. I'm just like, that's amazing. I'll have
Well,
to bring him on for one of these nights when we have both of you on, and you guys can have at her
I don't know. I think
in a good way.
I was actually
well,
gonna just dash out and have my dinner. So if you want to bring him on, go for it. And because I need to eat something. So
Sure,
But-
sure.
well,
Sam, do you want
what's
to?
whoa? What's
Whoa.
cooking? What's
Hmm?
cooking?
Functional's amazing food.
And what's that?
Roast and peas and carrots sautéed, and all his magical. He's a kick-ass chef. Like seriously, you eat his food, you won't want to go to a restaurant again. You just want to eat functional food because it's good stuff.
It's functional.
Functional is a kick-ass chef. Like he could seriously beat the crap out of most of the people on Chopped. Easy.
Oh, look. I'm a pretty good cook myself. I'm gonna post you my food porn later on. Just make you salivate.
Yeah, you and Functional need to talk food then, because yeah, no, he's a seriously good chef. He can work with like bare bones stuff and just create.
I
really
can too. I can too. It was wonderful. I made a dish with 3 kinds of meat with the same spice, but each meat had their own flavor anyway. It was amazing. Fucking French. Just add butter. Add butter and garlic, and it's amazing. If you add butter, garlic, put persil, basilic, servile, fucking great mug, whatever.
Nutmeg.
Muscad. Yeah, muscad. What's muscad in English?
Oh.
You're immersing yourself in French. I know you know that.
Well, I'm bilingual. I don't even know that.
It's great. A great mug. Great nut. Something.
Nutmeg.
Nutmeg. There you go.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I was just like, does he mean nutmeg? Because I wasn't like, I've heard the other one before, but I wasn't sure if it was nutmeg.
There you go. That's the one. That's the one. Anyway, I put all those spice in with a little bit of salt, a little bit of sugar, and a lot of butter with chicken, beef, and pork. It was amazing. Anyway.
That's pretty cool. Well, I'm going to start out of
Oh, there he
the
is.
studio.
All right.
So, yeah. Okay. All right.
See ya.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good one. Enjoy dinner.
Thank
This
you.
stream is all over the place.
All over.
The place.
Okay.
That's just how I like it.
Welcome.
Hi. Oh,
Hello.
am I a little quiet?
You're okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay so far. So how was your dinner, Functional?
I don't know. I haven't eaten it yet.
Oh, you haven't eaten yet? Okay. You were really quiet for a really long time, and then we joked that you were high. But then he got
No, the echo was just killing me.
Okay.
I can't listen to myself speak in real time. It's too disconcerting.
Oh, I
You
listen
just
to it.
make your girlfriend and test the food before you eat it, huh?
I had some.
Okay. Fair enough.
Kind of been
Excuse
the
me.
joy
And
of-
yes, smoking weed.
Not a big deal. I was just teasing you for it because I mean I did that earlier, but
So
oh, you're sharing your screen?
You see what I'm doing?
Haha. Which one? Oh, this is Overwatch, right?
Yeah. That's what I do when I talk.
Hey, yellow shirt. What's up with you?
Yellow shirt. I think he means you, Sam.
Hello.
He might be working with the sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
That time, dead air. Dead air.
Why'd you kill it?
I had to.
Just like a Frenchman to stab you in the back.
And then I did it out front for everyone to see. It's guillotine time.
And then I mean he totally stole that quote and he was like, "Shh, just let it happen," but in like Quebec French.
Oh God.
And Functional's like, that's wrong on a different. No, give that back to Monkey Jen. Oh, but if we could record that and send it to Ranting Monkey, that would be amazing. I have this thing lately where I'm picking on him because he's been ignoring chat.
Mm-hmm.
So I
He just gets involved talking to, whatever he's talking about that day.
and I mean that's okay. It's just I figure I should still tease him for it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But there's been a few times where I've been telling jokes, and I know Satsu's reading them, and I know Sinatra's reading them, and I can hear them giggling. You know, I did one earlier, and if I can remember the conversation, I wasn't sure if it had to do with the Greta. Oh yeah, it was a climate change thing. So I came up with this joke about a carbon away. It's the new Kool-Aid for the climate changers. Kind of like Chipotle for your ass.
Oh yeah.
But it's going to come into your door like, you know, uninvited every time you hear its name. And then it's going to offer you this package of like really high taxes that aren't going to do anything to improve the environment. But it's called, Carbonaway.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are.
Is he?
Yeah, I think he muted himself. He might be trying to fix his avatar or something.
So I had an idea. I'm gonna do a show tomorrow while being super duper drunk. Who's with me? Midnight. I'm gonna do it. It's gonna be great. You should all watch it.
Well, I'll
Gonna go
watch it.
nuts.
I'll certainly watch it. Oh, private chat. Let me check. Hang on. Oh yeah, he's having connection issues. Okay, no worries. Yeah, I'll probably watch it. I'm usually up around that time, so.
I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. I'm gonna do it anyway. Because I can.
Well, you just let me know when you do it, and I'll share your stream. So.
I think he was joking.
You think he was joking?
No, I'm not. I'm gonna do it. It's the only time of the year I'm gonna be drunk. So of course I'm gonna do it.
Why are you getting drunk?
It's
Just
because
'cause?
it's party time.
Oh, okay.
Are you gonna invite on Butternut?
No.
No. Okay. Sorry, I don't mean to throw that one out there at you. How about well?
Well, I could, but it would be bad for him.
True. The only other person that I'd know who would compete with you on that one would be Mycroft. You could be like, okay, so I'm gonna get shit drunk.
Minecraft
Nope.
is gonna fuck off and just listen to Disney movie. While he's drunk, that's what he do usually. Anyway, enough of that bubble. I'm just saying I'm gonna do a show tomorrow at around midnight for anybody who's interested.
Okay, well that sounds good. To be honest, I'm not doing much this weekend. I might take a little bit off because, like, I think between you and I, Functional, we've done quite a lot this week.
Yeah. I mean, there's always stuff to talk about.
Yeah, like I'll watch your stream tomorrow. Tomorrow, Magic, absolutely, 100%. But I might not do anything. Like, I mean, if I do anything, it'll be like maybe a game stream in the morning or something when I'm relaxed and have my coffee because I went to Costco today, so I got some hot chocolate. So I might make a mocha in the morning. So my morning might be exciting because I'll have sugar in my blood.
Ooh,
But
interesting.
like I said, like I'm not going to make any plans for like any of these type of streams. Like honestly, there's not a lot going on other than like repeats of like the same stories. There's going to be more coming out. There always is. Like.
Yeah.
With where we are right now, there's still fights going on, and that's just inevitable. But, it's kind of good to give it a couple days and, see if anything happens. And if nothing does, then you just take it for the grain of peace that it is. And we'll find other things to talk about, too. Like, there's always stuff in, entertainment that we can focus on, like... I'll bring up different conversations and anything you guys are interested in, by all means, message me on either like Discord or if you have me on Twitter. I've said before, like, I'm not asking for follows on Twitter because I want like the prestige. It's mostly just so you guys can DM me. most people have, I think. So, like I said, if you want to come on too, I don't mind bringing on guests occasionally. Like it's kind of good for our community to bring in different voices. So,
I want the biggest shit poster to come with me tomorrow midnight. It's gonna be great. We gotta try to bring socialists and start a shit show. It's gonna be great. Make streaming great again. Oh, something. Gonna be huge.
No worries, Sam.
Huge.
We'll have you on again on another day. Like I said, I think you two will have fun one of these days. We'll bring you on and we'll have a good conversation.
We just talk in French and fuck them up.
I know, right? But so yeah, I'm probably gonna shut down the stream here in a bit. Just pretty quick here. So if you guys have any shout outs that you want to put out there, and we know yours, Magic. So
Yeah.
Nah.
Well, I'm gonna shit it with tomorrow. It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be a lot of shit posts, a lot of fun. I'm gonna call it the Midnight Madness stream. It's gonna be great. Rome is gonna strive again. We're gonna bring debauchery to the stream. It's gonna happen.
In that case, count me in.
Oh, yeah, you think you can handle it? I don't think you can handle it. It's gonna be great.
I don't think you can handle it.
Oh, I can. I've been there. Done that. I call Richard Spencer the faggot.
Ooh, spicy.
spicy meatball.
In his face too. It was great. Fucking JF too. Fucking JF in his social awkwardness. Talking to Monkey and shit. He talked more to Monkey than people in real life. Fuck that guy.
I mean, he's the type of person I wouldn't even see. Like, how did he even get a potato?
He did.
Isn't that a little too good for him?
Yeah, he did pick his girlfriend from a protest, like an Antifa protest back in the day. Fucking cringeworthy.
Oh God,
Yeah.
I don't know that much about him, so, other than he's funny and funny looking.
He is funny.
Like funny to laugh at, not with.
Yeah.
All right, so for me, like I said, I'm probably not going to do anything this weekend, but
Probably
sure
till
enough,
Tuesday.
yeah, we'll probably do something again on Tuesday. And like I said, anyone interested in joining, just let me know, and we'll set something up. And I'll probably try and see if I can get a guest in. And say for you, Functional, if you've got anyone that you're interested in, Magic, if you want to find someone that you think would be a good guest, throw one at me. I mean, I know you work a lot, so I'm trying to make sure that you get a.
I got connection. Just tell me, but it's gonna be spicy if I inviting people. I'm just telling you.
Well, my last guest I brought on Irate Alex of the Irate Alex channel. He's always fantastic. Love his content. So I don't know who might appear next, but stay tuned.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always a nice surprise. You never know who's coming to the greater north. You know?
A figure. Spencer really is a figure.
In Soviet Kazakhstan, everything can happen.
I had to say it like that too. All right, guys. Well, hope you all have a good night and enjoy your Friday night. Like, do something fun. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. Like, I kind of want to play Graveyard Keeper for some reason, and I woke up thinking that this morning, and I'm still a little bit stoned from my last hoot, so I might do that. But I'll talk to you guys again soon. And like I said, if I do a gaming stream, I always tweet it out. So talk to you later. Say goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Better dead than red.
All right.
You're such a